Hello, and welcome back to part two. Thank you for joining me. We will be framing out the front end with HTML and CSS. So I told you before, this socket.io we're not going to touch for a bit because we got to build up the front end. That's why this is a jQuery episode 2. Because it's in the title because we do just as much jQuery in the front end as we do sockets in the back end. Maybe more. But actually, jQuery, there's some pretty cool stuff with jQuery. It's underrated. And if you're one of those, I'm not going to call them snobs because that's not nice. But if you're like an Angular person or React, those are great. I work with Angular and React at my real life job. Um, but for something quick and dirty, jQuery is fine. If you're making a huge web application that's taking in several APIs it can get very complex. Even then, jQuery would work, but no one would take you seriously. But for something quick and dirty, and for a small web application like what we're doing, jQuery is fine. Also, what's the difference between a web app and a web page? A web page, you just go somewhere and it shows you information. A web app, you go somewhere and it's just highly interactive, like a chat room where we're not just reading it from on a page, we're putting it on the page. We're telling people things across the world. That's a web app. There's a little more to it than that, but that's like the telltale sign of a web app. I don't know if there is a textbook definition. So in today's episode, we were going to be earning our merit badges for HTML and CSS, and I doubt we're going to get it all done. My dog is barking outside. That's so annoying. So let's begin. All right. So I'm going to make a directory, mkdir, called chatvatars. See what I did there? Chatvatars. And then I'm going to change into the directories that I just made. There we go. I just changed into that directory. And there's nothing in it. If I hit ls, there's nothing in it. I am on a Mac, and the editor I'm going to be using is Atom. It doesn't matter if you're not on a Mac. It doesn't matter if you don't know what Atom is. If you want to use Notepad, that is just fine for these files we're making right here. So in Atom, this works on a Mac. This touch, I can create a file called index.html. I'm not in it. I just made it. It's there. It's in that. If I look in that directory, it's in there. In fact, I'll prove it. There. See it? So I'm going to make another one. Touch.app.js and touch main.css. Now, if you're new to coding, you think, oh yeah, that's what you do for all of them. But if you're more of an advanced coder and you're used to React and to Angular, this file structure is very simple. But it's going to work just fine. This is just the front end. We're going to have other stuff going on in the back end, but our back end file structure is probably going to be simpler. Maybe one, maybe two files, maybe just one. This is just going to be fine. We are going to include jQuery into it. So I'm not going to have a jQuery itself file. I'm going to cdn it into it. And I'll show you what that means in a second. I have a shortcut. I can just hit A. And that brings up Atom inside of that directory. So right here, it's going to show those 3 files I just made. So we want to start with our index.html. And if I just type in HTML and hit tab, I got that little shortcut going on. So what are we going to call this? Chatvatars, all caps. Because that demo one, which I think I'm going to refer to, is also called chatvatars, but in lowercase. So now we can tell who's who. Also, we are going to bring in, this link tag. This is for to bring in our CSS. This right here, just in case you're not familiar with this, I'll say it as fast as I can and try to still be clear. This says, look on the file, start where you're at, look in a file called CSS for a file called master called CSS in a folder called CSS. Well, we don't have a folder.css. We just want to look right next door to main.css. So here's a fallacy I hear sometimes, cap locks, where people say, just put the name of the file here. It's actually the path to the file. it says how to get there, but since it's right next door, it looks like the name of the file. So that'll give us that. Let's give it some text, Put my caps back on to say hello world. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And then one last thing. Hit it again. Script. In between this opening script tag and this closing script tag, I could put jQuery in here, or JavaScript. JavaScript, yeah. I couldn't put jQuery there yet because I haven't brought in the CDN. But that isn't what we do in Big Boy Land. We say what is the source of our JavaScript, and it's going to be this file right here. And again, I'm not just putting in the name of the file. It sure looks like I am, but I'm giving it the path as well. But since it's right here, I can just say app.js. And it's going to look into this file, which right now has nothing in it. So I am going to go here. I'm going to say open index.html, and it says hello world. I'm going to hit Command Option I. It's something similar on a PC. It's like Control Option I forget. And if I had an error in my console, it would show me right here. I mean, you don't have errors. There's my HTML. But specifically in this console, this is where we're going to find all of our JavaScript errors. When it just gives us a bunch of red, it doesn't know what's going on. And I'm about to make. I do that so often. I'm about to make an error on purpose because we have to bring in jQuery. Like we're not going to put a file here that it reads. We're going to bring in what's called a CDN, a content delivery network. I should really know what that means. I'm going to put it right here. I don't have the address memorized, so I'm going to go out and ask Mr. Google. See, there's the other chat avatars. If I go to W3C Schools and ask for a jQuery CDN, it is going to give me one of very many CDNs you can use to bring in jQuery. So this one, it says, look here at this in this googleapis.com Ajax library request. Okay, so this is the library I want to bring in. So this is the cheat way to bring it in. If I was going to make something for production, I would have the jQuery in my own file structure. Okay. If you're wondering why this pops up, it's because I have a very annoying habit of hitting Control S to save something before I leave the page. Well, when you're in the browser, you don't want to do that. You just want to leave the page, but it's going to happen 100 times. I'll just tell you why it's happening. Okay, so I just copied that in, and I'm going to say Command V. I just hit Command C instead of Command V, which means I just copied nothing. So I got to highlight this again. Command C. Don't hit save. Go here. Go right here. Hit Command V. Tab, because we want to have these lined up. And now I brought in jQuery. So the way you know you brought in jQuery is if I'm going to put in a $sign. This $sign means something in jQuery, but remember I told you I was going to make a mistake. If you've watched any of my videos before, I've probably done the same mistake on purpose or on accident, because the first few times this happens to you, you don't realize it. So I refresh. It says, I don't know what a $sign means. Okay. That is because, going to here, I said, it reads this in order. It says, hey, look at this thing called app.js and evaluate it. And it says, okay, I see a $sign. Now it hasn't got to this yet to learn what a $sign means. So when it sees it, it says error. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to cut this out with Command X after the body, Command V. So it's a cut and paste. And now I'm going to check it again. Refresh it, no errors. Okay. So, did you notice what I did there? Okay, app.js, main.css. So, we need to make this HTML. And I know it's going to take me more than this episode, and probably may take me more than 2 episodes to do it. And for some of you that think HTML and CSS are boring, maybe you can skip ahead. But we got to frame this thing out. I mean, if I don't do it, if I had it like just copy and pasted it in, then I might lose somebody. So for all of those that are bored with this part, sorry, but here I go. So I'm going to get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. I'm going to make a div. If I just type in a div and hit tab, it does all that for me. And it gives me a class. So timeout. Let's look at this. I'm making the thing that is wrapping this whole thing right now. So I'm going to call it a wrapper as a matter of fact. And I'm probably going to center mine. And then inside of there, I'm going to put this and this. So I'm going to put a div with 2 divs inside of it that are side by side, not one on top of the other. So I'm going to give this a class of wrapper. I'm also going to give it a class of flexor, but that class shouldn't, neither of these classes I've created yet, but flexor is something I do myself. When I want to make it a flex container, I think flex boxes are not used nearly enough. I think it's an awesome way of making things, adjust when you shrink your screen. What's that called? Yeah, it'll come in responsive web design. Anywho, inside of here, I'm going to make 2 more divs. This one is going to be where I put the avatars. So I'm going to call it the avatar wrapper. And I'm going to make another div. And this is going to be where I put the chat into, because the chat's going to have the message part and the part you type in. So I'm just going to call this the chat wrapper. And inside of here, we're going to have 2 more divs. Inside of here, we're going to have a lot of stuff, but it's going to because you think, well, if this is the avatar wrapper, we're going to have a bunch of, I got to put all those avatars in here now. We're going to have our jQuery put that in, because all of those pictures, they're actually just links that are legitimate links because I used public domain. But anyway, I'm going to take each of those links. It's going to go through them all and just append it to this avatar wrapper. So really, besides styling it right now, just to make it be there, we're not going to put anything inside of it. So with that in mind, I'm just going to go like this. This is going to be different, however. This is going to have the messages and the part where you type, and I hope I think of some creative names for that before I get to that part. So I got a wrapper, a flexor, an avatar wrapper, and a chat wrapper. Okay, let's start styling this. Whenever I start the body, I'm going to give it a width of 100. And if you're saying, well, you don't have to do that, it already has a width of 100. Okay, does it? I'm doing it anyway. And if you say it already has a height of 100 view height, well, I'm doing it anyway. Then I'm not hurting it. And I swear, this has saved, I'm pointing at my screen with my finger right now. This has saved me a lot of headache, or caused a lot of headache by not doing it. That's what it's really done. So I do that now, and I'm also going to get rid of any margin that it has. And I'm going to get rid of any padding that it has. And I'm going to give it a background color of black, just because that's a cool color. Now, I don't want to turn this into a CSS tutorial, so I'm not going to debate if it should be a black or a picture and talk about, users' feelings. I don't have time for that, because this is a Socket.io tutorial. Okay, so there's the body. I made something called Flexor, and all this is turn something into a flex container. So I'm going to say display flex. Okay, I'm going to make something. When you're making divs, like you want to see that they're there. So just to test them, I put a border there. So this is almost so I'm just going to give this a border property. 1px solid. Don't put black, because we have a black background and a black border and a black back. So let's put, I don't know, red. Put something that shows up on black. I might change this to a white background. So if I put a white here, then, but I probably won't change it to a red background. So this will be good. And again, these are going to go away. They're just there. So from when I want to make sure what I think is there, I put a border on it. I'm also going to, while I'm just doing these generic class types, I do something called circle. So when I give a div called circle and give it a border radius of 50%, that turns it into a circle. So instead of like each one going to border radius, I'm just going to put circle right in the list of classes we can give it. Okay, so we had something called a wrapper. Oops, don't forget the dot. And the wrapper, we're going to give it a width of, let's think about this for a second. You know, do we want this thing taking up the whole screen? Probably not, but we don't have anything to do with this part. So I think I'm going to make it take up, you know, 70% of the screen, but I'm going to center it. So there we go. That's what I'm going to do. So the wrapper, the width is 70%. The height is 95%. That way we'll just have a little bit of room on the top and the bottom. Margin, and this should center it, AUTO. If it doesn't, we'll have to, if it does the left and right, not top and bottom, we can put a number right here. That'll take care of that. It already has a border on it, so I'm going to use this property, box sizing, border box. What this does is, okay, this width of 70% doesn't include, like let's say I have the width of 100%, but then I put a border that's 1% more on it, and it's 1% more on the left and one on the right. Now it's 102% wide on 100% screen, but when you put border box, it brings in that it makes that border part of that 70% width, and I believe it does with the padding too, but not with the margin. And I can think you can hear by the hesitation of my voice that you know you have to quote me on that one. But that's what it does for sure with the border itself. Okay, so that's that wrapper. I also had an avatar wrapper, right? That's the skinny one. Let's just give that a width of 20%. 20%. And I think I like the box sizing border box. It can't hurt putting that there. Height, 100%. Is that what I want to say? Now, in this demo right here, I only have these guys. But we can have Marvel characters up the yin yang, so I want to scroll through it. So I'm going to basically give this an overflow property. Overflow auto. And what that'll do is it'll give a scroll bar if I overflow, and it won't if I don't. So that's kind of handy. I wonder how long I've been making this video. It feels like it's been at least 10 minutes. Okay, avatar wrapper, and the next one is the chat wrapper. Chat wrapper, and let's take these same properties. The only difference is, besides the indenting, is I want to give this a width of 80. Now, in the index, did we put the border property on them? No, we did not. So let's say there's the border of the wrapper. Let's give this one a border and a border. Okay. Nothing inside of them. Oh, right here. Not right here. It's the full caps one. We're going to hit refresh. Boom. The only thing I don't like is like I was worrying about the margin on top. It's not there. So if this is 95%, so I'm going to put a 2.5 margin on top. And then I think I'm going to end this video, or at least stop coding. Margin 2.5% and S. We're going to go over here, hit refresh. There we go. Okay, so the avatars are going to go back here. We're going to put probably a background color in here. Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I can, it's fine. I think I'll just have it attached because I don't want to spend time with HTML and CSS. So I'm going to put in one div here that is going to take all the messages that are going to come out of, this isn't going to be a, well, we can put a div, but inside of that we need to put a there's text, there's input boxes. It's a text area is what we want, because text areas you can write a big long message. So in the text area, we are going to that's what's going to take these two spaces here. Well, this one big space. Okay. Also, on the next video, I think I'm going to start a Git repo, but just a local Git repo, which is different than a GitHub repo. Remember, we're getting these little merit badges, so I think we definitely got that one. We got that one. We didn't really earn this one, but it's coming. But I'm going to put Git, so I think I'm going to add a little Git one for the next one. Okay, thank you guys for watching. How do I stop this? There it is. I will see you guys in part 3. Thank you.